A young driver is under police guard in hospital tonight after a crash in Melbourne's Bayside killed one friend and left another fighting for life. The trio had just finished playing 8-ball pool when their car veered off a main road and into bushes.
The picture of pain etched on the faces of grieving family. Two brothers and a loving partner of 8 years watched on as a wrecked car was hauled from the bushes where Matt Barrett lost his life.
I heard crying and then looked out the window and then saw a guy holding an iPhone trying to flag down a fire truck.
Just after midnight, Matt and his two teammates had left a pool competition in Moorabbin. His 23-year-old friend was driving down Beach Road in Beaumaris when he crashed into bushland. Matt died at the scene. His 45-year-old friend was critically injured. The young driver was arrested and taken to hospital under police guard.
He was sitting on the gutter and a woman police officer was trying to talk to him, but he was acting a bit erratic. And then I did see him get handcuffed.
Police won't say why, while Matt's family is remembering the 38-year-old for his adventurous spirit and infectious energy. They say Matt was the kind of person who embraced life completely. He was always the loudest laugh in the room, a huge heart, and the friend everyone wanted beside them. Matt's partner also added she has no animosity towards the 23-year-old driver. She says he is a good guy and would be incredibly devastated to have lost his mate. Still, he is being investigated by police who have not yet laid charges. Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
Premier Ben Carroll has stepped up his blitz to overturn Jacinta Allen's pet policies, today spiking her work-from-home legislation. Next, he took aim at court secrecy orders used by top-flight lawyers to help protect predators.
Work-from-home legislation won't work until next year, shelved from September, pushed to at least July.
I want to reset our relationship with the business community.
And distance himself from a Jacinta Allen pet project. Business groups welcome the delay, but will keep pushing to abandon the legislation altogether.
It's not good legislation and it needs to be retracted.
Also being targeted, suppression orders in court, admitting the system unfairly favours the accused over the victim. Convicted rapists Ralph Carr and Tom Silvani had their identities suppressed even after being convicted.
Suppression orders were designed to protect victim survivors, not convicted rapists.
The mental health of the accused is often used to apply for and be given suppression orders.
Closing every loophole used by high-profile accused and convicted persons on the use of suppression orders.
Before lawyers call this a win for open justice, they're seeking more details, specifically around when any ban on a suppression order might apply.
Top-tier law firm Thompson's recently fought against several suppression orders, including Ralph Carr's.
There's a whole stack of reasons why openness throughout the whole process, not just at the end, is important. Other victims come forward, witnesses come forward.
Character references are also in the firing line. Abuse survivors say it's about time.
When we allow them to use that to reduce their sentence, we risk giving an offender a discount for the very thing that helped facilitate the crime.
Sonia Kilkenny has changed her tune on a Corruption in Construction Royal Commission. She once called it reckless, but with a new Premier...
Do I support what? The Royal Commission. Yes, I support a Royal Commission.
Her old boss, Jacinta Allen, has disappeared into the parliamentary shadows, skipping Labor's caucus meeting, not expected to be seen on Spring Street this week. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
The victims of a tree fall tragedy at Mount Buller have been identified as a local mother and son. 27-year-old Tale Rodden was killed when a tree slid into the car his mum was driving. 64-year-old Sally Rodden is in a serious condition in Wangaratta Hospital. Sally is the lodge manager at the University Ski Club and runs a homewares business in nearby Mansfield. The Reserve Bank may have kept interest rates on hold today, but it still delivered another sickening blow to borrowers. It has forecast inflation will remain high, meaning high mortgage repayments will continue to hit family budgets for the next 18 months.
trolleys full of relief.
The luxuries that we might have had last year are slipping away, but it is what it is.
The petrol prices, power, everything else keeps going up and up.
Today, one thing remains steady.
There it is, as predicted. Rates are on hold.
The cash rate unchanged at 4.35%. Concerns, though, inflation is still too high and won't be back in the RBA's target range until late next year.
The board will raise interest rates further if that is what is required to bring inflation down in a timely way.
Inflation has now moderated for 3 months in a row, but it is still higher than we'd like. There's still a lot of uncertainty going forward.
Uncertainty around oil, a tight labour market, 3 rate hikes and policy changes cooling a housing market, heating up this House.
Who argued that interest rates were too low?
The member for Goldstein will leave the chamber.
Kicked out before putting the boot in.
The Albanese government's plan has continued to be to stoke inflation, to tax inflation, to then spend inflation.
One of the big four revising its forecast made just 2 months ago. ANZ taking a knife to house prices, now predicting deeper declines closer to 15%. Sydney leading the slump, down 14.5% over this year and next. Melbourne almost 13%. More modest drops for Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, with a recovery not expected until 2028.
It looks scary when you just look at your own house and its value dropping by itself, but you've got to put it in the context of the broader market.
The board didn't discuss a rate cut. We're told not to expect one this year. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
The AFL Commission has hired a King's Counsel to advise whether Geelong should be sanctioned over its secret concussion contract. Commission Chairman Craig Drummond has recused himself. He was Cats president at the time Jake Kolodjasny signed the deal, waiving some of his legal rights. The KC will advise the Commission directly, sidelining the AFL's internal investigators. Hundreds of Victorian health workers have walked off the job, with patients left in limbo after cancelled surgeries, scans and procedures. The union workers rallied in the city demanding a 36% pay rise.
3 strikes.
Power! Union! Power!
And still no deal.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! It's got to go!
Our wages have gone back between 11 and 13% over the last 4 years due to inflation.
Hundreds of allied health workers rallied outside the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre today, calling on the state government for a 36% pay rise after 11 months of failed negotiations.
Allied health professionals is a very female-dominated profession, and they've been underpaid for far too long.
Burnout, another problem.
Having more access to staff and having more career progressions.
I'm hopeful that we are able to work through the issues and come to an agreement that everybody can be comfortable with.
And there's more to come. Thousands of doctors from the Royal Children, the Royal Melbourne and the Women's Hospitals will strike for the first time in 20 years on Thursday, walking off the job for 3.5 hours.
Emergency staff won't take part, but the Australian Medical Association says a strike is necessary. Doctors have been trying to negotiate a 30% pay rise and a cap on shifts to manage fatigue for a year.
When healthcare workers are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
There is hope the ongoing pay dispute between teachers and the state government could be resolved by early next week, with a new offer now going to a vote. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
7 News can reveal tonight a global climate summit held in Fiji will be paid for by Australian taxpayers. Our government has agreed to foot the entire bill, coughing up tens of millions of dollars, and it seems major world leaders probably won't even turn up.
A pre-COP meeting in Fiji, and Australian taxpayers are copping the bill.
Chris Bowen is spending over $20 million taxpayers' money planning on and broadcasting his own inauguration.
The Energy Minister, co-president for negotiations for COP31 in Turkey, committing Australian taxpayers to picking up the full tab for planning, running and broadcasting the climate change meeting in October, because host country Fiji can't afford it.
I mean, Chris Bowen has serious questions to answer here.
Oz tender documents obtained by 7 News revealing taxpayers are being quietly billed $17.2 million for event management and another $2 million for broadcasting services so the meeting can be seen around the world.
And this is just his ego way out of control at the expense of people suffering energy hardship in Australia.
Well, it's a really significant event and we're making that investment because of how important it is to our future.
Taxpayers have forked out another $2 million to reserve several Fijian resort hotels, though much of that is expected to be recovered when attendees pay for their own rooms. The $20 million, just a slice of the $150 million taxpayers will be billed in total to pay for Chris Bowen's role. A sensible investment, says the government, in supporting our Pacific neighbours.
Our relationships with the countries of our region is fundamental to the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific.
Billed as a critical meeting for the Pacific, Mr Bowen has invited world leaders including US President Donald Trump, China's Xi Jinping, France's Emmanuel Macron, Japan's Sanai Takaichi and new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham. So far, not one is coming.
It's embarrassing every which way you look.
The coalition won't miss an opportunity to pull Australia down.
Copping it over cop.
And political editor Mark Riley joins us now. Mark, the government says this is value for money, is it?
Well, Mitch, $150 million is a lot of money to spend on curtain raisers for a global conference you're not even hosting. So taxpayers are right to demand they do get a lot of value for that money. The Pacific has long been regarded as the front line of the climate challenge, so it does make sense to bring leaders here. But with so much going on in the world with wars, natural disasters and cost of living crunches in their own countries, it seems most, if not all, the big name leaders don't see the value in attending at all. And unless that changes in coming weeks, Chris Bowen will be left defending a Fijian flop. Mitch?
Political editor Mark Riley, thank you. Weather conditions prompted Air Services Australia to implement ground delays at Melbourne and Sydney airports this morning. It caused a number of flight cancellations and delayed journeys. Air Services Australia says the measures at both airports were for safety and not related to staffing. It's Christmas for statisticians, with millions of households tonight filling out their census forms. The 66-question survey shapes decision-making and has already proved vital in helping to deliver services to Melbourne's booming west.
Already, 5 million Australian households have filled out their census forms at home,
Thank you.
on the Victorian snowfields, even on cruise ships. It's all about sending a message.
I'm hoping the government really take it on board what is needed to grow effectively.
Point Cook, a perfect example. In the 2001 census, population just 1,700. In 2021, almost 67,000, Australia's biggest suburb.
Census is one of the most important tools that we would use to pressure the government.
The former councillor believes the last census helped trigger a new public hospital and a kindergarten expansion for Point Cook. This census, even more ammunition.
We don't get our share of funding that's required for this area. It is frustrating.
The census provides stark proof of how much we've changed. In the 1921 census, 3.1 births per woman. 100 years later, that dropped to 1.7. In 1911, city dwellers were 58% of the population. In 2021, that was 90%. In 1971, Australia's median age was 27. In 2021, up to 38.
Such a rich picture of who we are economically and socially and culturally, and that information is going to be so useful.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Former Carlton captain Mark Murphy has performed an extraordinary citizen's arrest in Rome after saving an Italian chauffeur from an unprovoked assault. Xander Maguire has the exclusive details. And Xander, what happened?
Well, Murphy and his family were unpacking their bags with the help of a driver when the brutal attack unfolded. A 22-year-old Tunisian man stormed up to their chauffeur, began arguing with him before punching him in the face. That's when the 300-game Blues champion sprang into action, putting the attacker into a headlock and wrestling him to the ground, detaining him while a bystander called police. Locals were applauding and cheering Murphy, but he was more concerned about his driver waiting with him until he was transported to hospital. Murphy told 7 News the whole altercation happened really quickly and came out of nowhere. It certainly wasn't the start to the holiday we were expecting. The incident made local news. La Repubblica newspaper explaining the driver and the tourist restrained the attacker, who was arrested shortly afterwards at the hospital. Little did they know that tourist was one of the greatest Carlton players of the modern era, Mitch.